This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hope you're able to see my screen as well as you're able to hear me clearly. Please confirm. Hello. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear.
Okay. So that's what I wanted to just check because I didn't get any response, so I was waiting. Okay. I hope you're able to see my screen as well as all of you are able to hear me well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah, welcome to this seventh online session on our ISTQB Advanced Test Manager certification course. As you see on your screen, we are making a little slow progress, but almost we are completing our first chapter, that is our testing process chapter. In that, we have already completed the activities around test planning, test monitoring, and test control. Then also we reviewed test analysis and test design activity, and around that activity, what is the role of a test manager, implementation and execution aspect. Today, we will get into the fourth group of activities. We generally call them as evaluation of exit criteria and reporting. So let us go and understand that. And also, the next activity is test closure activities. So let's aim to complete the whole all these two topics today, so that we'll be done with the first chapter. And then the Saturday, coming Saturday, the Saturday that is coming now, instead of moving to test management, maybe I will compile few questions on testing process, and we will review some questions. So that will give us kind of little bit of exam orientation that is needed to clear this exam. So, okay, let's move and try to establish the learning objective that has been outlined for this step, evaluation of exit criteria and reporting. Okay, so basically the test execution has been done, few cycles of testing has been done, and somewhere the test manager will have to collect all metrics and understand what has been completed, what has not been completed, did we achieve the objectives or not, and then actually report back to the management about closure of testing, if at all exit criteria have been met. And these exit criteria would have been established by the test manager in consultation with the rest of the stakeholders at the time of test planning. Then based on that planning, the test manager would have implemented a scheduling and monitoring framework to collect metrics and observe, monitor the progress and control throughout the project. And now a time has come where a few cycles of test execution is done, and test manager will have to take a pause, collect all the metrics, compare them against whatever the exit criteria that have been laid out. So basically, at the beginning of the project, during the test planning, this exit criteria, what are exit criteria? Generally, uh, they are set as some generic or very specific, sometimes using objective numbers. Some conditions are set and they're agreed upon with the other stakeholders earlier on. Why we have done that? Because using that objective exit criteria, we want to get a permission to officially complete a particular process. That is why we have established it. Now we have to use them to get that permission to officially close that activity. Or if we haven't met the exit criteria, maybe we have to review and again extend the project and do some more tasks. That's what we have to do. But that is what is the real reason for exit criteria. So basically, how these objective exit criteria will help test managers is that they will actually present to the test manager that whatever tasks we have done, uh, if they are not completed, we cannot consider it as completed. Okay, some tasks may be still outstanding, but still we are thinking we have completed. So that is why this pausing and taking time to evaluate everything carefully is very important step. And in a simple project, it's not such a complex activity. But let's say in a very complex outsourced engagement with geographically dispersed teams, or then those kind of places, to officially close test execution and reporting the closure to actually the management is a very important task. That's what we will learn. So as usual, let us start by asking a question to establish this learning objective. Okay, so again, this is also a typical simple 1 mark question of ISTQB Advanced Test Manager exam. So let's read the question. So which one of the following statements provides the best explanation as to why accurate test case information should be supplied during test execution? Okay, so sometimes in ISTQB exam they will put it in capital letters. So which one? So they basically they're telling you have to select one, and it's telling the following statements provides the best. Best is also again capitalized. So basically, what does it mean? Below I have few statements. Maybe generally they are correct, but one is actually the best one. So you have to choose the best one. That is the real intent of this question. So let me read once again this question. Which one of the following statements provides the best explanation as to why accurate test case information should be supplied during test execution? Okay, so let us read the first statement. You have to do this so that the stakeholders are provided with information on the current status of the project. It's a yes statement, but we will not jump to conclusion because we have to choose the best sentence here. Okay, why actually we need actually accurate test case status information. So first statement is telling so that the stakeholders are provided with information on the current status of the project. Good statement, keep it in mind. Second statement is telling to maintain a high level of respect for the test team by the rest of the project. Not so good statement. We don't do a test execution or collection of status and metrics not to gain respect for our test team. If we do good work anyway, we will gain good respect. So not so good statement. So I can in my mind exclude this second statement straight away, but do not jump to conclusion. We'll read the third point. To help the developers establish correct priorities for defect fixing. That is why we need to collect accurate test case status information. Maybe once if we collect accurate test case status information and again communicate that to developers, maybe it will help them to prioritize their defect fixing, but that is not the best answer. Okay, so 3 I read it. Now let us go and look at the fourth one. We have to do this so that adequate coverage of the requirements can be determined. Okay, so actually 1 and 4 are actually better statements than 2 and 3, definitely. Okay, we need to get good case accurate information for coverage purpose. But out of these 2, what is the real best answer, best explanation why we need accurate test case status information during test execution? Any guesses?
Number
Will you go with 1 or will you go with 4?
1.
Okay, 1. Yeah, absolutely. Because anyway, adequate coverage of requirements have to be provided that information. But the main purpose of this activity to collect accurate information, actually to communicate to the stakeholders with the right information and explain the current status of the project so that we can get the permission to close the project. Okay, so you are right, the answer is 1. So typically these are the 1 mark questions. They are simple in nature, but still they will like to confuse you, but because you are going through the syllabus thoroughly, you will not get confused. So basically test managers must organize for collecting accurate and timely information during a test process to support accurate reporting and evaluation against exit criteria. Okay, so we are setting up this exit criteria in consultation with stakeholders very early in the life cycle during test planning, and we'll make them as objective as possible. Subjective criteria, we can have arguments whether we have achieved or not, but if you set using numbers, facts and figures, then you can easily compare with what you have achieved versus what is the current situation. So you will use that to close officially a project, and also you will achieve this, use this not to close the project if actually things are not met, or at times you have set some exit criteria and you have not met, but then when you talk to stakeholders, the top management told, hey, okay, this exit criteria we haven't met, but let us waive it off. Then with a proper permission with top management, you may waive off some exit criteria and then say it is completed. But without waiving off any exit criteria, as a test manager, you will not close the project. Okay, that is the thing. Just keep it in mind. It's a very simple topic only. So evaluating exit criteria at this time, what we really do, we assess. Again, this is a primary activity of test manager. The test analysts, the test engineers will not do that. They give you information. They have worked now. You as a manager now doing this task. So what you will do, you will assess test results against exit criteria for each level as defined in the test plan. Again, for every level, there will be this criteria based on which level you are managing. You will do that, assess it first. Then you will generate more tests if required, or change the exit criteria with the permission of top management. These are the one of the 2 things you do. If you haven't met and clearly it's known, then go back and do your test process, more test design, more test execution, more coverage, and then again evaluate criteria and then close it. Or sometimes change the exit criteria, waive them off, okay, based on the mutual agreement. So typically, what are the example informations collected throughout testing and test execution is that you will have metrics around number of tests planned versus executed, then number of tests passed versus failed versus skipped, not run, that kind of information. Okay, these are all very important information when you use them in together by putting some trend graphs, charts, we will understand more clearly whether we achieved our objectives laid in our test plans or not. Okay, maybe the third one is total defects raised by severity and outstanding defects. How many high severity, whatever priority defects have been put, and then how many are still not fixed, outstanding, so that that also gives you a good idea whether you can complete or not. number of change requests raised, okay, for changing the code, planned versus actual expenditure. These are all budget and effort related metrics also will be useful at times. Then planned versus actual elapsed time. Then what is the risk still outstanding by tracing back the test case execution status to the risks identified earlier on the life cycle. How many risks have been totally mitigated and how many risks are still not mitigated. That kind of traceability and that information will be useful. So based on that, you can take permissions from management. Then percentage of test time lost due to blocking events. Again, all these are very important metrics. Some of them to evaluate your status with respect to exit criteria, and also to understand how well this whole project has been run. So any improvements needed in future. So percentage of test time lost due to blocking events, then total test time and against effective test time carried out. So any delays have occurred. So estimation inaccuracies have taken place. All these metrics, all this data collection will be useful for you to compare your exit criteria against the current status of the project, and then make a very informed decision about closing a project. Okay, so again, what we really do is that we collect a lot of these metrics and we will create trend graphs using one or more of these metrics put together to understand and explain the real progress to the management. So that is why it's very important. Okay, so in an evaluation of exit criteria and reporting, test manager must regularly report the status and progress of testing and final reporting of the results obtained. Okay, so typically we complete a project by writing a test summary report. A lot of good templates of IEEE 829 are used. So basically, the test analysts and technical test analysts are responsible for gathering accurate and timely information. They are the people who produce this information, but it is the test manager's responsibility to ensure that appropriate processes and mechanisms are in place to allow the testers to fulfill these responsibilities. So that's what you have done during your monitoring and putting together a good monitoring framework for your team. Then again, the frequency and level of detail required for reporting are dependent on the project and the organization. A complex project requires much more complex organization of metrics. In a simple project, again, agile metrics are much more simple. You can use them to understand and convey to other stakeholders. Okay, but whatever level of detail it should be negotiated during the planning phase and should include consultation with relevant project stakeholders, and again using good visual dashboards to explain things will be always useful. So just on this step, evaluation of exit criteria and reporting, so test managers organize for collecting accurate and timely information during the test process to support accurate reporting and evaluation against exit criteria. And once they meet the exit criteria and officially they decide to close the project, then they write a test summary report and communicate to the rest of the team that, hey, this project is now officially completed and this is the report. Okay, that is how we complete the test process for a particular test project. But then as we complete this, another very important step we have to do before moving on to another project, and that is actually our test closure phase, or the last activity of our fundamental test process. That is what we will learn now. Okay, so let us go to test closure activities. This is the last activity. So we have done right now or understood a step called evaluation of exit criteria and reporting. Now we are coming to the final thing. Okay, so test closure, actually what happens is that it's the last phase of a test process. Lot of data is collected from all the completed activities, and before moving on, we have to do some important activities, especially what experience we have had uh, while doing this project. What are the lessons learned? So in fact, in agile process, conducting project retrospective is a very important and highly valued ceremony, and there is real need for that. So fundamental test process also captured one activity as officially close the project by doing a set of activities. So don't forget to do that, because what happens is that once the project is completed, test summary report is gone, and in a services kind of project, there is another project. Immediately the teams will be moved to the next project because there is kind of urgency there, and people forget it. But in a large project, it is a very important thing that we actually explicitly identify that at the after close of the project we will do a 1 or 2 days activities and capture some information. So fundamental test process of ISTQB suggests that this activity has to be formally be done, and generally test managers have to organize this activity. So let us learn about that. Okay, so this is the last of our fundamental test process activity. With this, our first chapter will be completed. Okay, so let us look at the learning objective by looking at a question typically asked in ISTQB exam. Okay, so as test closure activities, we perform actually 4 activities. 4 very important things you must keep in your mind to properly close a project, testing project. Okay, in that one activity is to ensure that all testing has been properly completed. You have to ensure that one of the test closure activity. Another 3 are there, but this question is about which one of the following is an accurate summary of the test closure activity, that is test completion check. So indeed, whether we completed the testing or not, that check has to be done in the formal test closure activity. Okay, so you perform one of these 4 activities below to ensure that aspect. So you have to answer this. So hope you have understood this question. Which one of the following 4 statements is an accurate summary of the test closure activity, that is test completion check? Okay, so first statement is telling test completion check ensures that all important lessons learned are documented. Okay, that is the first statement. So during test closure activity, one important another activity is actually we do a project or test retrospective meeting or project retrospective meeting, where we analyze all the lessons learned during the project. Some of them are good lessons, some of them are bad lessons. So good lessons we want to repeat in the upcoming project, bad lessons we want to avoid during the upcoming projects. Those kind of things are done, but test completion check will not ensure that. Okay, anyway, we'll not come to conclusion, but let's read more accurate statement which is describing test completion. The second statement is saying test completion check ensures that all test work products are stored in the configuration management system. Okay, so again, conserving and archiving all test artifacts into a good version control system is a good test closure activity, so that in future reuse of the test artifacts can be done, and also all the relevant stakeholders post this project, they have access to the test artifacts in one place. that has to be done. That is a different activity of test closure, but that is not so much related with test completion check. Okay, but don't jump to conclusion. We'll read the third one. Test completion check ensures that plans are established to ensure that good practices can be repeated. Okay, again, this is a result of the first thing, that is lessons learned. Whenever you do a project retrospective, then you will identify good bad practices, and good practices will repeat it. So it is again not related to the test completion check, but don't jump to conclusion. We'll read full question. Test completion check ensures that all test work is concluded as planned. Okay, so which is the best statement? 1, 2, 3, 4. Which one?
I think fourth.
Yeah. So it is fourth, correct. So these are the 1 mark sample questions which easily we can answer. So, but still, I thought this kind of thing will be useful for you. So basically, test closure activity, often people skip it, or they in a hurry to move on. People don't do it properly, but doing it properly is good, and test managers have to take personal responsibility to ensure that. In fact, in large projects, let's say you are a test manager of Bank of America or Wells Fargo, and you have 2-3 vendors using which you have done a very complex testing engagement. So as enterprise IT test manager, you must ensure that these vendors like Accenture or Wipro or Infosys, actually they're, after completing the project, finalizing the test summary report, everyone is coming and actually talking about a retrospective meeting they're conducting, because that's a very valuable thing for the future activity. So in fact, when you are writing contracts for such large engagements, in the contract itself there will be one term that at the close of the project there will be a formal retrospective meeting will be conducted, and good practices, lessons learned will be identified. Like that it will be there. So again, based on the complexity you are managing, this becomes a very important step for you. So test managers must be able to summarize the 4 groups of test closure activities. Whenever we talk about test closure activities, we are talking about 4 group of activities, and you are knowing about them, and also when required you are able to implement a project retrospective to evaluate processes and discover areas to improve. Again, this project retrospective is a valuable ceremony that agile practitioners really promote it. So this people should know how to even conduct a good project retrospective. Separate training sessions are there in agile to just conduct retrospective meetings. Okay, so that is what you will do now. So what are the 4 group of activities as part of test closure? Let's look at it. The first one is, first group of activities is that you have to carefully look at all the testing that has been performed and check that the whole testing work is indeed completed. Nothing is kind of still pending. So ensuring that all test work is indeed concluded, like consolidation of test activities at the end of testing phase. So all tests have been executed, or if there are some tests that have been skipped with a permission or that kind of thing, then all defects that have been raised have been fixed, or some defects have been deferred, or some defects the management or the technical architecture team told that we can't do at this moment. But all those things we have to check and officially ensure that there was a decision taken. If something is left little bit incomplete, it is not left incomplete without bringing it to the attention of another stakeholder, and some mutual agreement has been done. That is very important responsibility of the test manager to check that the testing activities as planned have been indeed completed. Okay, that is one very important first group of activity. The second group of activity is delivering all valuable work products to those who need them. Now, in this whole process of your testing project, you might have created many test artifacts, okay, and many test plan document, test case document, automated test suites, environment specifications, many things. Maybe you have all put it in one place or created one. So you have to ensure that the valuable work products are actually handed over to some teams that will take responsibility for this software project going forward. Some things, examples are deferred defects to those using the using and supporting the system. Okay, any defects that have been found, but due to whatever reasons we have deferred, better actually your support teams are aware of that. So you are communicating and delivering that defect data to your support teams. And also maybe all the tests and test environments to your maintenance staff. And maybe sometimes you have created a lot of regression test suites for whatever you have done. Maybe you have to hand over them to your client so that the client will use them while doing regression testing if their system is integrated with another system. So delivering all the useful work products to other stakeholders is another very important thing you have to do as part of your test closure. Then the most important thing is actually performing retrospectives, performing or participating in testing retrospective meetings. So the primary aim of these meetings is to openly discuss all the things that have happened and identify as a team some lessons learned, so that whatever good lessons learned, good, we will reuse them. If something bad lessons that we have learned, how do we use them not to repeat it in the next project? This is the kind of thing, and record in whatever way and hand over to other team members and other stakeholders. That is very important. Then fourth one is archiving. Okay, so results, test logs, test reports, all other documents and work products, everything you organize in a proper repo, in a proper version control system, so that others can access it whenever they need to reuse them. So basically these four group of activities, basically what is that we are telling? Check for proper completion, then deliver whatever work products to other stakeholders who will take responsibility of the system after this project. So that is one. And then conduct a very effective retrospective, and then conserve or archive all the test artifacts of this project into a proper configuration management system. So these are the four activities we do. Okay, so again, if you look at ISTQB syllabus from a learning objective point of view, there is a learning objective around lessons learned, basically conducting postmortems, okay, or retrospectives. They want test managers to learn this topic more thoroughly. Though I did not mention so far, if you go to ISTQB syllabus, the syllabus is actually given some taxonomy, what we call it as Bloom's taxonomy they use. They tell that a syllabus is K1, K2, K3, K4, like that. So K1 is just, if you know, remember is okay. K2 is that you understand it a little bit thoroughly and able to compare with dissimilar, similar ideas. K3 is actually you are able to apply that learning into a work context. And K4 is you are able to analyze a much more complex situation, like that. So basically the conducting this retrospectives, lessons learned exercise is identified in our ISTQB test manager syllabus as a K3 element, means questions on the topic will come with a big case study. So we'll do towards the end one exercise, because such questions you have to expect from this actually lessons learned, because ISTQB considers that test managers should have that skill, anyway, those who are working in agile projects, and all of you might have gone through some specific training also on retrospectives. If not, just go read, build that skill to effectively do such a ceremony. Okay, so how we can use this project postmortems, and when we find some good practices, not so good things happen in the project, how do we use that? Let's say you are doing a project postmortem or retrospective, then your teams told that in the software, in some areas, a lot of defects have occurred towards the end, some modules or some functionality. Okay, then that should lead you to thinking, okay, if that has happened, maybe did I involve the right kind of stakeholders, right kind of users? Have they been represented while performing quality risk analysis? So some, based on what you are knowing in the retrospective time, you have to raise some questions. Then actually you can organize some output from this meeting to ensure that in next project we'll do this or we will not do this. So let us say that kind of event occurred, then you can think about sufficient cross section involved in quality risk analysis. Good client stakeholders, did they participate? Did we not do proper risk analysis? That is why we actually let it happen through towards the end. So next time, can I change that by involving the right users to do risk analysis? Maybe could defects have been detected earlier by involving different type of users? So that kind of questions will come about user representation early in the life cycle. Then sometimes whatever slippage in schedule happened, or in agile, this we usually look at progress from a burn down, burn up charts. Then if we observe that towards the end, people are putting a lot of effort to complete the project, it's not very uniform. Okay, so a lot of effort in a single time, and earlier on not much effort. That is not very good symmetrical usage of effort. So we have to look at those kind of situations and means basically ask questions about, when at the time of planning and estimation, did we consider these things? Were my estimations accurate? Okay, or was my testing inefficient? And was the original estimate flawed? Okay, you have to always, based on the effort deviations, schedule deviations, and these not so good burn down kind of charts when you are observing, then you have to look back and where did we make mistakes? How do we not make those mistakes? So estimations, you can look at it. Then sometimes whatever these variances have been happened in the project, what kind of planning mistakes we did. Okay, so did we not anticipate them? So you have to reflect back on your planning part. Then again, analysis of defects will also give a lot of things like the trends. Then you do a lot of cause effect analysis, and from there, what caused what kind of effect? Then was timing and quantity of change requests an issue towards the end? Did some change happen? Because of that, more defects have occurred. All plant tests, whether they have been performed or not. So by looking at defect and analyzing them, we can understand the process related issues more. And then with all that, you have to understand, based on your retrospective meeting results, lessons learned, and you should be in a position to suggest some process improvements and document them and maybe communicate them. And even if it is a complex project and organization of a team, maybe do a KT before the next project starts. But good test managers have to acquire this skill of conducting effective retrospective meetings, and then do a very good root cause analysis, and then suggest and affect some process improvements, so that we are learning and improving continuously in an organization. So that is why this topic is important for you. So before we conclude this topic, let us answer this question. So again, this question is a little bit longish question. So look at it. So we told 4 group of activities and we described those activities. For the activities listed below, 8 activities have been listed below. Which combination covers the activities that reflect the 4 main test closure groups? So 4 of them are correct combination, and that combination we have to find. So whenever these kind of questions are there, typically we make a mistake. We think this 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, one of these answers. No, that is not the answer. You have to go down, and out of these 4, a particular sequence is correct answer. So again, reading it carefully is very important. So let us read it. Okay. And again, whenever we are answering these kind of questions, so always to speed up your process and being accurate, one technique I always recommend for especially the younger students, you people will be knowing anyway, but I will tell that use something called a principle of exclusion. So you read something and then you know that is incorrect, then that option is out, then you have to deal with only 3 other options. Then you read still doubtful, don't come to conclusion, but third one, when you read, you know it's totally not correct. Then if that is there in another option, that is also excluded. So you are using the principle of exclusion to zero in on the right answer, and you can kind of do it fast, this kind of thing. So use that. So far I have talked about read the question from start to finish. That is one important technique to crack this exam. Then the second technique, I'm always telling you, DJTC, don't jump to conclusion. The third one is this principle of exclusion. And actually there is a fourth one which I keep on telling youngsters, don't be too clever. So a lot of times the young students whom I taught, they think if there is an easy answer, they always think that this examiner is tricking me. So because he may be tricking me, let me be too clever. Then in that anxiety to be too clever, people make mistakes. So these are the 4 rules to crack the exam. So anyway, let's come back to this question. Okay, we will read everything carefully. First, I have to understand the intent of my question. So it is, the intention is to check your understanding on test closure activities. So there are 4 test closure activities. So he has given 8 activities. You have to observe 4 in right combination and find all 4 have to be in the same answer, then only it will be right. Okay, so let us go to this. Delivering work products to those that need them. Is it part of a test closure activity or not? Yes, it is a test closure activity. So 1 is there in 2. Okay, and luckily in this question 1 is not there in 3 and 4. Almost in my mind I can tell 3 and 4 not so interesting, but anyway, let us not jump to conclusion. Then reallocating test personnel to other projects, is it part of test closure activity? Do we have to really bother about reallocating the resources to other projects? That is not really part of. So 2 cannot be actually in the right answer. Okay, but 1 has 2, so I can exclude 1. So I am actually almost coming to the answer very fast in this combination, but this will not be so easy, but still we will come to that. Ensuring that all test work is concluded, this is a part of test closure activity. So 1 and 3 have to be there. Okay. Then archiving testware in the configuration management system. Yes, this is also one of the important test closure activities. So 4 has to be there. Luckily, so far 2 has 1, 3, 4 also. Running performance reviews for members of the test team. This is not part of a test closure activity. Okay. So anyway, already I excluded a lot of things. Obtaining sign off for the test summary report. Again, is it? Not really. That is a different test evaluation of exit criteria and reporting. That it will happen. Test closure is a post-mortem or a retrospective and doing some other activities along with that. Okay. So performing or participating in lessons learned reviews. Yes, we have to do that. 7 should be in an answer. Agreeing the scope of the maintenance release. Not at all a test closure activity. So what is the right answer?
2.
So 1 is wrong, 2 is right. Okay, so that is how we will answer these questions. Again, these are typical 1 mark questions. So, okay, be ready to answer them always correctly. Okay, so basically recap of our test closure activity. Yes, test manager must be able to summarize the 4 groups of test closure activities and implement a project retrospective to evaluate processes and discover areas to improve. This is a very critical, important responsibility of a test manager. Out of this, real good skill is actually to conduct this project retrospectives effectively. Okay, if you think you are not yet there, a lot of online courses are there, but get good at it. That will put you always in good place as a test manager. Okay, so last part of the first chapter, this test exit and closure, because there is a K3 element in this syllabus, we spend a little bit of time and reflect on an exercise. So let us do this exercise. Okay, so what is the scenario? The scenario is you are a test manager and you have recently joined this company, and this company is an established software product development company, and you joined that company as a test manager. Okay, but before you joined, a retrospective meeting was held. Even before you joined, one meeting has been held by the team that has done a testing project relating to a completed project. Okay, and as and when you went to the office, somebody forwarded that minutes of the meeting to you, what happened during that meeting. Okay, and you are reading the minutes. I will read it for you. Actually, that is the minutes. Typically in ISTQB exam K3, they will give this kind of scenario. Then you have to read the minutes of the meeting and then answer a set of questions. So I'm converting that whole questioning into an exercise kind of thing for you. Okay, so exercise is what? On the basis of the following meeting minutes, you have to suggest 3 to 4 test process areas that could be improved. So you have to justify and describe your choice. Okay, so let us read the minutes of the meeting carefully. So this minutes, the meeting was held, I think the project manager conducted the meeting. So the present roles are project manager, test lead, developer, and tester. These are the 4 people who participated in the meeting. Absent none, everyone is there who completed the project. Then the PM, the project manager or scrum master, whatever you call in Agile, opened the meeting by welcoming everybody and asking them to speak freely, as the meeting and its results are an important tool for improving test process. So he asked, hey, everyone feel free, openly, let us do a conversation. Then he began by taking comments from each of the meeting participants. Okay, so then he looked at test lead. So test lead made these comments. What test lead is telling? Test lead told, I actually think that we did a really good job in this test. We have carried out an excellent system test and uncovered a number of defects, though not very many. The thing I found difficult initially was that I really wasn't sure what management wanted to get out of testing and how they wanted us to approach it. This is a very important statement. We did it, we found few defects, not sure did we find all the defects. But one difficult thing I faced is that I wasn't sure throughout the project what really management wanted to get out of this testing project or testing work. Okay, important statement. Okay, as a test manager, it should immediately strike something in your minds to improve. Then PM responded to that. PM is telling, I must admit that that was also something which I was unsure of. I now feel that we have a good understanding of where we want to go with testing in our group. So at least now PM is getting clear, but at that time he was not clear what is expected out of testing. He is also agreeing that. On the other hand, I also found it difficult to follow what you testers were actually doing. So project manager, while project was running, he really didn't know what testers were doing. And this happens in a lot of projects. Okay, we see that day to day actually in our organizations. Okay, then test lead responding, okay, I can see that we haven't always been able to coordinate our work with your project schedule. So whatever project plan, schedule and testing work, they don't seem to be integrated at all. Okay, so development is going in one way, testing project manager really didn't know, and these people are going in their own way. At least it indicates that. Okay, then the tester who tested on this started responding. So he told no, and from our point of view, it has also been difficult to know what exactly was planned. Okay, it all felt very spur of the moment. Can you please get on with this, that, and the other? So they were always moving the goalposts, and that meant that there were other things that had to be put on the back burner. Okay, they do something, and some other instruction will come to alter things. Sometimes we didn't really know why we are being asked to put one project on hold in favor of another one. So tester also expressed that. Then test lead is responding on that. I felt that I had an okay overview throughout the project. So test lead has, but tester doesn't seem to have. But maybe I haven't communicated that clearly enough. Okay. Then tester responding. Sometimes we have felt that we have been left to sink or swim without really knowing what was expected of us. We have wasted a lot of time and we have redone things because a decision was suddenly taken to do them in a different way. So these things happen in our projects when we tactically manage projects. Okay, then developer is intervening. He's talking of redoing stuff, a number of things that you have installed have worked on my computer, and then it turns out that yours was incorrectly configured. I think we have wasted a lot of time in that way. So this is a very common problem. Whenever you find a defect and tell developer, first response from a developer, no, that works on my machine. So this is a very common problem, and this is a configuration management problem. So basically, when you as a test manager listening these kind of comments in these meetings, immediately it should trigger in your mind lot of improvements in lot of process areas have to be done before we start the next project. Okay, then the continuation of minutes of meeting. Tester is telling, yes, we have lost a lot of time because the system just broke down in the middle of everything, and it is taken time finding out that things needed changing, things which no one had thought to tell us needed changing. So developers are changing, but the changes are not really communicated to testers. That is why these people have to do a lot of time, repeat things in a very unproductive manner. Okay, then test lead is telling, when I look back at the defects we have uncovered, it's often been the case that the same defect has cropped cropped in again after it has been corrected. That is 2 to 3 builds further down the line. So same defects were repeating. So there is some issue with configuration management. So developers are fixing, giving it. Maybe the build is on the test environment. The testers are testing wrong versions, maybe wrong test data, or change was not communicated. All these things only will result in this kind of problems. Developer, yeah, that's been a real headache for us too, and we don't really know how to keep it under control. Some of the recurring defects you have found haven't been defects at all. They were just incorrectly described in your test cases. There is a mismatch between what developers are thinking as requirements and testers have test cases, because the change mechanism, change management mechanism isn't in place in this project. Okay, again, meeting is still continuing, long meeting. So let me quickly read it for you. So test lead told yes, or we have been using an outdated version of the test data. It's all been a bit random. So he's coming to some points now. PM told, but you have tested lots of stuff, haven't you? So basically they have tested a lot, but the process seems to be weak. So test lead is telling, yes, we have tested a lot. Tester is also telling that's true, yes, but I'm not sure whether the tests we have performed have been sufficient. So there is no concept of coverage, completion, consistency. That tester is not having clarity on that. Or on the other hand, whether we have performed too many tests. Maybe we have done excessive tests, not tested some important areas. I'm very unclear about that. So it also talks about some weaknesses in the process of planning, traceability, completeness check, all that from a test lead and project manager point of view. PM, I'm sure you have done it right. Now they are thinking in the air now. Okay, whatever happened, happened. Hopefully we have done well. Tester is asking tough questions because he doesn't have management responsibility. He's asking, how can we be sure? So PM is responding, well, the system has been released now, so we will just have to see what happens. So he's leaving it to the God now. Okay. Developer is telling, that's right. I think it will be okay. Okay. So anyway, that is the minutes of the meeting. And PM anyway finally asked all the comments, then recorded them, sent it back, and you are the test manager, first day in the office. You received this minutes. So you have to now tell what process areas are actually weak, and in the next upcoming project you will take care of those process areas to improve. So you have to reflect and talk about them. Anybody wants to reflect and tell what are the problems here in the retrospective?
They actually did for test environments, and also the testing scope was not clearly defined by the test team.
Yes.
By test lead, and from that they did not had also they had old data test and not real test data.
Yeah.
And the test completion was not clear, as Mr. was mentioning. Also the test lead was not sure about the things.
Yes.
And and also there was some lack of communication between each role, like the roles you have shown in the start of the slide.
Yeah.
And also the test schedule, the plan is not in line with the project plan schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think there is a point like expectation from the management. What is that expectation on the testing side? Like whether management more focus on the performance side or one functional area, those kind of inputs. I think that those are also lacking.
Absolutely. Yeah, because in the first lesson itself, we told a company should have some test mission for every testing project. Then maybe seriously test strategy was lacking there. There is nothing. So that is why project manager is unaware of what is expected out of testing, and test lead is also unaware. And because test lead is unaware, test team is also unaware. So that cycle chain is broken there. Maybe that has to be corrected so that we bring all the link everything together. And as you told, the scheduling issue and communication issues are really important. Then, like other person has told, the test environments and test data and not using appropriate configuration management mechanism, same mechanisms for both development and testing, is also one of the issue. Now, in the modern projects, actually we use either Git or Bitbucket or whatever distributed version control system, but every artifact of the project is always placed in the repository and it is accessible to everyone. So again, some changes happening in the software are not communicated to testers. All these things have been there. So multiple areas. So let us look at, so basically, as you told, test policy and our test strategy. This whole thing is lacking. Test scheduling has been an issue. Test environment has been an issue. Again, test lead seems to be not very well trained with respect to all this. Maybe test lead may have to go through a little bit of ISTQB advanced test manager certification course, then they will learn it. Then configuration management seems to be an issue. Change management has been an issue. Let us quickly read them. So test policy and our strategy, based on whatever conversation, neither the project manager nor the test lead has been aware of what management's attitude to testing is. That's clearly lacking. Testers are also unsure of whether they have performed too much or too little testing. Management's attitude should be expressed clearly in a company-wide test policy and a test strategy relating to the development area in question, whatever project they're doing. This should also detail the extent of the testing required and how testing is to be measured. So that, as a test manager, you go now and meet some important stakeholders and change that. Then next project onwards, things will be much more in control. Then, as you mentioned, test scheduling has been an issue. No overview of the tasks or the order in which they were to be carried out, because people were changing their plans at the spur of a moment. Okay, so no overview of the tasks or the order in which they were to be carried out has been available to the team. This has meant that the project manager hasn't been able to monitor testing because there was no proper infrastructure to monitor also. A test plan should be prepared at an early stage in the course of the project with an overview of all tasks, an estimate of the effort, prioritization, and allocation of process. So the overall test planning, test scheduling has not been done by test lead and also project manager, and that has resulted in all these problems. So definitely a good test planning process has to be put in place. As a new test manager, you have to take care of that. Then test environment. Okay, we have seen a lot of those things. In my system things work, in test system don't work. With that test data it works, with this test data it doesn't work. All these issues are problem with environments and managing the configuration of those environments. So clearly there are problems in establishing the test environment correctly. The test environment should be described in the test plan, and setup and maintenance should appear as a testing task with the allocated resource. So this has not been considered. That's why these problems have occurred. So that is what we then test training. Both the test lead and testers have been testing in the dark. They should receive training that equips them to address tasks they have to solve. The test lead would benefit from test management training, a course like this, with a focus on test metrics, monitoring and control, and test reporting. Okay, testers can get coverage, test design kind of training. Again, the other issue is configuration management. Okay, so in general and specifically for testware, there are problems relating to what is included in new builds, a lack of communication of changes between the development and testing, and using wrong test data. These are all symptoms of a lack of applying a good configuration management process and configuration management environment. Okay, so you have to take care of that as a test manager now. Establish, train people, select the right kind of distributed version control system, then train and apply processes so that every team member really leverages that and next projects you will gain control. And change management, a lack of communication between development and testing about changes and use of the wrong test data is all change management general issue that can be solved through your configuration management process as well. So this is what is a typical project postmortem or lessons learned meetings or retrospective meetings, and we can use the results of such meetings to improve the future work, and that is a very important responsibility of a test manager. And to be able to fulfill this responsibility, test managers have to gain little bit sophisticated skill of identifying these things, conducting meetings and all. So with that, we have completed our first chapter, testing process, and this is the 7th online lesson. So we have taken 7 hours, which is not actually bad in a real full day classroom training also. This will take this much of effort. So in a sense, we are going in the right direction. Okay. So in the next session, instead of jumping to the second chapter, I will work on assembling 10 to 12 questions, and we'll only go through those questions. That will give you time to reflect on what you learned in this first chapter. Okay. But the second chapter is long, big, and very important. We'll cover it appropriately. So any questions?
No.
So if you don't have any questions, so have a wonderful day, learn, have fun.
Okay, bye.